Welcome to today's webinar on fiscal management and controls. Today we will discuss the proper support documentation for wages and salaries. Today's discussion will address this topic in a manner that is consistent with the auditing requirements for federal grants and generally accepted accounting principles. This mandatory presentation was developed as a result of a recent audit and was developed to address one of the more serious audit findings related to the proper support and charging of compensation for personal services. The general findings from this recent audit were based on three areas. Number one, no documentation or documentation provided for salary expense did not meet federal standards. Number two, employees charging salary as budgeted rather than as actually worked. Number three, time worked on multiple grants/projects not recorded separately. Let's for a moment discuss the specifics of the audit findings. First, what is time and effort reporting according to the General Accounting Standard? Time and effort reporting states that any employee funded by federal grants must document the time they spend working on the grant's objective. All employees charged to federal grants must maintain time and effort reporting. And lastly, this documentation must reflect the actual time spent by employees on the award being charged. With this being a mandatory requirement, let's look at where the requirement is established. For nonprofit organizations, this requirement is located in the OMB circular under the section relative to compensation for personal services. As a resource, a copy of this particular circular is located at www.whitehouse.gov/omb/circulars. So now we will discuss compensation in detail. What is compensation for personal services? Compensation for personal services include all compensation paid for services of employees rendered during the time period of the award, including but not limited to wages, salaries, and fringe benefits. This compensation is allowable so long as the services provided conform to the organization's established policies, and if the charges are documented and supported. The amount of the compensation is considered reasonable if it is consistent with that which is paid for similar work in the organization or labor market. Fringe benefits include but are not limited to leave, insurance, pensions, and unemployment benefits. These benefits should be provided equally for all employees under a written policy and will remain consistent with policies of non-grant funded activities. While considering the proper documentation of salaries and wages, it is important to note that number one, time actually worked must remain consistent with the established time allocation percentage approved in the original budget. And two, charges to awards for salaries will be based on payroll documents approved by a reasonable official within the organization. Within each affiliate location, time and effort is recorded for each employee using one of the following methods. Number one, 100% indirect activities. Number two, 100% direct activities. Number three, multiple activities. 100% direct activities are when an individual's salary or wage is not readily assignable to a specific grant. In this case, the salary is captured in an approved indirect cost rate. 100% direct activities occur when all of an individual's salary or wage is paid by a single grant. When a recipient organization allocates 100% of an individual's time and effort to one grant, individual timesheets showing daily time recording are not required. All that is necessary is a semi-annual certification that is signed by the employee and their supervisor. These certifications are statements confirming that the individual's time and effort were 100% directed towards a specific grant. Lastly, we will discuss the most common occurrence within our affiliate location, and this is an individual that falls under the multiple activities category. Multiple activities occur when an individual works on more than one grant. When an individual's time and effort are for multiple activities, a timesheet or equivalent documentation must be completed by the employee. The timesheet must, number one, be submitted at least monthly. Number two, coincide with one or more regular pay periods. And number three, account for 100% after the fact time distribution. Let's take a moment to examine a sample timesheet. The sections of the timesheet are the employee name and position, time period covered, the day of the week, and the calendar date. Then the main sections, which will show the hours worked on each grant covered by the employee. In summary, The two types of documentation required for a single and multiple grant employees are the semi-annual certification and the timesheet. Semi-annual certification is kept by an employee with a single cost objective and completed at least once every 6 months. The timesheet is kept by employees with multiple cost objectives and submitted at least monthly. The supervisory official must have first-hand knowledge of the work performed by the employee. Always sign after the fact to reflect the actual time worked. The key attributes of a property timesheet are as follows. Timesheets must display the entire time period and break down not just the hours charged to the grant activity. Timesheets must be submitted at least monthly. Timesheets must demonstrate the amount of actual time spent working on the federal grant objective. Timesheets must always be signed after the fact and will reflect the actual time that was worked on the activities. Let's revisit our most recent audit findings and examine some common errors found. Number 1. Reporting time based on budgeted amount without regards to what employees actually worked. Number 2. Lack of maintaining source documentation to support salary costs. Number 3. Failing to recognize a change in position, duties, or funding may result in a change of reporting. And number 4. Entire day schedule not accounted for, only federal time being recorded while the rest of the day is undocumented. Remember, timesheets must show actual time spent working on each award or cost activity. Budget estimates are just that and do not qualify for charges to federal awards. So what if we decide that it's just too much work to compile this level of documentation? Salary costs that are not accurately and properly documented are unallowable and will not be reimbursed. If you have been reimbursed for salary that was not properly recorded and supported, you will be required to pay back the unallowable cost. In summary, any salary charged to federal grants must be accurately recorded. Time must be charged as worked and not as budgeted. Timesheets must be submitted at least monthly. Federal cost principles. The NUL compliance team is taking two immediate actions, among others, in response to the most recent audit findings. Number 1, we are offering this mandatory webinar to all affiliates with proof of completion. Number 2, we're requiring each affiliate to send a certifying statement via email to confirm future compliance. All recipients must insert the following statement verbatim via email. The salary component of future salary requests will comply with all OMB circulars applicable to my organization and will accurately reflect the actual time spent working on each award. If your organization is not currently complying with the OMB circulars, then you cannot request salary reimbursement. Then what? You can ask for an extension to submit this compliance statement. Or you can work with the NUL fiscal team to determine how your organization can come into compliance. Direct questions about this certifying statement and compliance can be directed to your fiscal manager. We look forward to helping you with this particular matter. Thank you and have a great day.